Hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on this classic wooden motor cruiser here in Victoria, British Columbia, along with the loving memory of my pup Geordie, all the while fixing it up for some pretty ambitious cruising. If that's the sort of thing that you might find interesting, please consider sticking around and subscribing. I'd love to have you. Well, yes, indeed, it has been an absolutely lovely week, finishing off with this perfect sunny day. It was really great to get those cabinets finished up, which is what I'm going to show you right now. Let's jump right in. And well, I'm back up in Genoa Bay with MV Geordie, and to be fair, only for a few minutes, maybe an hour or so. Again, Ladies Efforts has lent me her car, which is fabulous, so I could run up here, grab a few tools, get a few supplies, and most importantly, router out the rabbits in the backside of all the window frames here so I can actually set the glass this week. Now this is very straightforward. I'm simply cutting a roughly 5/16 by half an inch deep rabbet out of the backside of the openings so that I have a little bit of extra clearance, wiggle room. The windows are actually about 1/4 inch wider than the inside of the frame, so that gives me a little bit of wiggle room. And I'm setting it half an inch deep because the windows are about 1/4 inch, and that gives me another 1/4 inch or so to put a little strip of mahogany in to hold them in place. Let's hope I get to that this weekend. But anyway, not this weekend, today. So now the only trick is to run around in here and not destroy these existing doors. Yuck, yuck, yuck. First things first, safety goggles. I'm going to do this in successive cuts. In other words, I'm just going to drag a little bit and work my way around, hoping not to pull out too much meat all at once. And there we go, a relatively tidy rabbet out of the backside that now I just have to clean up the corners with a chisel. However, I'm going to do that back in Victoria when I have ample time. Okay, before I give up on this beautiful little gun, I'm going to take it apart and have a look inside and see if I can figure out why the drive pin is not returning. So what's happening is the drive pin has gone completely loose, and it's so loose I can tell it's not attached to the piston. So let's take a look in here and see what's going on up here. I drive the piston up. That's probably the little slot that the drive plate was to go into, and if I pull this out, you can see quite clearly what's happened is that the little ring somewhere up in here, if I drive that pin out, the other half of that is missing. So definitely this gun needs a new drive pin. Anyway, certainly not going to be able to be fixed today. I'm just going to put this back together so that it doesn't get dirty in the meantime. All right, put this on the shelf. And while I'm briefly up here in this part of the world, I thought I'd check in on Scott and Altair. Holy mackerel, look at this fantastic structure he's built. Altair is going to begin a pretty major project. And let's see what he's up to. What are you up to, Scotty?
I'm wrecking shit. Sorry, taking stuff apart.
Taking stuff apart. Oh my gosh, man.
Come aboard. Careful, watch your step.
Oh my gosh. No half measures here.
Nope.
Holy mackerel.
Getting after it.
So you're gonna completely gut it?
Yeah, we're gonna pull the whole interior out and expose every single frame. This week I'm gonna remove this whole aft house because it's not original. And
Oh, the raised house.
the raised house.
Hey, Scott, how am I gonna stand up in this boat?
You can come down here.
Holy mackerel.
So just getting after it. I think the easiest way to do it is to just cut it out and start fresh.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I've been there too. It's cathartic to see all of this stuff go. And none of this is going to be original, really, is it?
No.
Exactly. So.
I think the only thing original at this point is the framing and the planking.
Right.
A lot of the planking.
Yeah.
Engine's got to come out.
Right.
There's some bulkheads forward and cabinetry forward that's original, but the whole boat is hogged and the whole cabin sides are pulling in.
Right.
It's just everything's crooked. And
Yeah. Nothing lines up anymore.
lines up or closes. It's time.
Well, folks, this is starting to look kind of similar to a massive rebuild that we all know and love. Holy mackerel, buddy.
Yeah.
You're taking on a lot, and I'm glad that you're the guy to do it, because this is just a massive piece of work. Cool. So when do you get this show started?
Christmas. Let's get this thing on the go.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to find a way to make sure that the first episode of what? Something like SV Altair? MV,
I
look at
don't
me
know.
go.
I don't know what to call
Think
it
of a
yet.
name. Think of a name quick.
It's a lovely old ship.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Christmas viewing.
The horror. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, man. Well, you hang on for a bit. I'll come see you next week.
Sweet. We'll see you on Monday.
We'll see how this is all going, and you're all going to have a show to watch on Sailing Vessel Altair over the holidays.
Lots of show.
Keep busy, man.
Will do. Thanks, Peter.
See ya. And welcome back to NV Poem, and it's time to get on with finishing this all up. You'll have just seen that I've just been up to Genoa, and I've been able to rabbit out the backsides of all the doors to accept the lovely glass panels that you all saw me do last week. Super excited to see it all in place. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm going to make this not necessarily difficult, but complicated. Deciding what's going to go in these three cabinets. I've brought enough material back to do shelves and interior stuff, and most importantly, hide some of the wiring that's going on that if you have a keen eye, you'll see is a bit shabby. Okay, so yes, all three of these cabinets are actually going to carry quite a bit of the wiring load in the boat. In other words, it's so central, it's connected to chases that go down, across, behind. So there's always going to be a fair amount of wiring in here, some of which is already here and a little bit sketchy, I accept, but proof of concept, that's all that is. Okay, so there's going to be a chase in here, I'll explain in a bit. The center cabinet, of course, is the most closest proximity to anything that will in future resemble a mast. So it has the big Wi-Fi array antenna and all the lighting and stuff that will go up the mast, including the horn, etc. As well as this cabinet is going to have the main terminal strips for all the lighting and DC accessory power. Anyway, more on that later, and I'll explain it as we go along. But the main thing is, these cabinets have to be able to be easily removed for access to those three sets of very important wiring. So I'll explain how I'm going to do that. Some of you may remember that when I built these and installed them the first time, I set them up to be installed with pocket screws because I foresaw this inevitable need. Can I do this without... oh, did I actually put a screw in up here? Now it's set for quite a few screws. I only have a couple holding it together right now. All right, let's see if I can squeeze this out of here without having to move all my glassware off of here. There we go. Very, very simple. So you can see the pocket screws that were there to affix it. There we go. And there we go. Okay, a lot of this is going to have to be reallocated, mainly the router here. I'll say goodbye to the internet for a few minutes. Now it certainly could be said, Peter, why don't you just buckle down and finish the wiring? And well, there's more than a few reasons why I'm not going to. First is that it is a proof of concept, and in fact all of this is going to come out again when I actually wire the boat properly. I simply had to get it functional so that I could go to the Wooden Boat Festivals this year as well as live aboard this winter, and I have no problem with that. All right. I don't know why I think I'm going to get away with doing this project with all my glassware on this shelf. It's just I have nowhere else to put it until, of course, I build a cabinet to put it in. So that process made it painfully evident how much I need a wire chase along here, just tucked behind this deck beam. And in fact, there's another really handy reason to have one, in that hole right there, which I then incidentally you can see right through, goes up to the running light port side as well as opposite. So that wire for that running light would also pass in that chase. In fact, it all coming together really quite nicely. So I want to make a chase. And a neat thing about building something up in here is it'll have a bottom on it, and which on that I can put some more LED light strips to beautifully light the fronts of these new cabinets. Now the bottom of the light chase and the support for the light strip will be an 1.25 by 1/4 strip of mahogany, which will sit right up here, just about there, creating a void above it for the wire chase. But now all I need to do is create some structure on that outside edge for this to attach to, and that's simply going to be a piece of yellow cedar, and that will sit up in there just perfectly. I'm liking this. Just going to scribe a few marks along here so I'll know where to put that yellow cedar. These little backhoe saws, very much like backhoe scrapers, are excellent value. Lovely little saws. I just love them. And like almost every tiny little saw, they have a built-in square. All right then, so leaving a gap both at the ends and at the middle for the wires to come in and out, and lining it up with this mark. Absolutely marvelous. Okay, so now to trim this lovely piece of mahogany to fit perfectly in above there. For those of you who've been watching along for years, you'll know that on MV Geordie I often had to stick wood out the side window in order to be able to cut it inside. So that's what I'm going to have to do here today as well. And let's see if that was even close. I'm about a 1/16 of an inch too short. I'm not going to cry about it. Okay, excellent, 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 excellent. Okay, so now it's getting all the wires up into the chase so that I can put the bottom cover on. And by far the worst offender is the cellular Wi-Fi antenna array cables. There's 7 of them. Now, the antenna is currently right above your head on the cabin top. At some point it's going to be up on the mast, and the cable is of a limited length, so it's really quite frustrating deciding where to put the actual router, but I think I've decided it's going to go down here where there's going to be another little electrical cabinet. So all these wires will run down through here, and we can just sort of, yeah, forget about it, at least for now, until something else changes. Just so you know, I'm not trying to be elusive on this thing. This device is called the PepWave. It's basically a SIM card enabled router. In other words, you put a couple of SIM cards in it, and the network thinks it's a cell phone. It basically turns it into an optimized hotspot, just like using your phone for a hotspot. It works very, very well. It's been fine for me, and it has great range. I think in the era of Starlink and other sorts of things, it may not be all that relevant anymore, but it works for me, and that's just fine. Now you can imagine the difficulty in getting the wires to stay up in that chase without the bottom cover on, and I tried to think of all kinds of things, and I ended up simply taking little short sections of toothpicks and jamming them in sideways, and that'll at least hold it until I can actually get the bottom strip on, and that'll hold it together after that. Okay, so I just hold the toothpick in place, cut it off a bit too long, hold the assembly of wires in place, and twist the toothpick into place. There we go. Beauty. Okay, time to install the light strip. Now these are the newer style, I believe they're called chip on board or COB, and they produce pretty much a linear strip of light, which is lovely. These I used in the aft cabin, whereas up here in the house I used the older style, and I will replace them. In fact, I've had several spools of these gifted to me, so very convenient for today. All right, I'm also just going to use the connector that it comes with rather than soldering onto the strip, which will make it a lot easier to take this down in future if I need to. So let's just open the door here again, slide this out, and start with the very mundane process of sticking this stuff on. There we go. Now I've wired this with the downlight circuit, so let's plug that right in there and test it on the downlight. Yep, so it goes on and off the downlight. So you can see here, you can see just barely the individual lights, or on the top one it's a little easier, especially in reflection, whereas this, it's pretty much a continuous strip. Okay, let's see how this goes together. I think this circuit may need a dimmer. This is pretty bright. I'm just going to put one screw in here for now. These screws will all eventually be swapped out for bronze oval head screws, but in the meantime this will do. Very nice, very nice. And well, good morning. Well, the next step in this little project is to build all the internal panels and the shelves in these cabinets and get them reinstalled. However, that involves using a circular saw, and I can't do that here in the marina. It's too noisy. So those of you who've been following along for a little while know there's a solution. And that solution is to go for a little cruise up the Gorge. Now, if you're not familiar, this is downtown Victoria, Victoria Harbour, sort of greater Victoria out to the sea, but there's a natural inlet all the way up what they call the Gorge, under the bridge, through Rock Bay, through the Narrows, underneath the Selkirk Trestle, up through another long Narrows, and this is as far as I can go in this boat. However, in a dinghy, you can go under the Tillicum Bridge into a much larger body of water that goes way up in here. So we're going to take the boat up here today. This is actually parkland, so there's no one to bother here, and I can do a little bit of circular saw work, but more than that, in some ways, is enjoy a little bit of a cruise today. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Ready for half day or so of sanding and cutting and stuff like that. Okay, first off is going to be the bottoms of all the cabinets, because the bottoms of the cabinets existing have huge holes and all kinds of mess. So all this kind of stuff I'm making out of thin Sapelli veneered plywood. And of course, to get a clean cut, I'm going to cut it from the back side. Okay, once inside, I have the complication of having to cut it around this structural member here, so not too complicated. Like here, here. And there we go. That should sit in there just like that. Now the bottom piece should just snap into place. Beauty! I love it, I love it, I love it. And so the side panels, this is the first one to go in, and it has a notch in it to reach around the main shore power wire, which is coming in there. And what they do is they actually act as the supports for the shelves, which will sit right on them on both sides and allow me to, if I need to, adjust the shelves very easily, because very quick and easy to produce these. It also means I can remove them very quick and easily to access this. And here's this one, which just fits in nice and snug. Excellent. All right, how about a shelf? Okay, so the shelves themselves are going to be made out of solid Sapelli mahogany in 3/8, and this is some less than ideal wood, but that's fine. All you're ever going to see of it is the end grain, and I think by the time I clean that up, it'll look just fine. It's also slightly cupped, but I think some good heat on it overnight will be able to flatten that out and dry out the enlarged side. So let's cut some stuff out of this. Okay, let's see how it goes here. Right about like that. Beauty. And finally, the last little modesty piece here, and it just clips into place. Oops. Gonna take a little adjustment to get that just right, but absolutely fantastic and easily removable for accessing that wiring. All right, and here we go with the big center cabinet. Got the base in. That fits perfectly, very nice. And the shelf. And how about that little sunshine to just make this ever so much more pleasant. All right, so I'm getting a little better at this. The base piece just drops in just like that. Excellent. And on this side, we have the riser support piece like that. On the opposite side, we have this one. Sits in just like that. And then finally, the shelf. Goodness, what a gorgeous mid-December day this turned out to be. Absolutely love it. So this pretty much wraps up what I need to do up the gorge here, because I don't need any more power tools to carry on. I'm going to gain the hinges on these cabinet doors. I'm going to set the glass into the hinges and put some little stops in for that, all of which I can do quite quietly back at the marina. So let's head back down the gorge. welcome to the Travels with Geordie Beer of the Week, coming to you this week from beautiful, sunny Victoria Inner Harbor in British Columbia, Canada. Just a lovely, lovely day. Let's get straight to the beer, and this seems so in keeping. Royal Jamaican ginger beer. Yes, I am staying in the import aisle at the liquor store, and I'm so excited about this because I really love a good ginger beer. So we'll see how this goes. All right. Well, what a lot of fun it was to take Pome up the Gorge. In fact, it was just earlier today on this lovely, lovely day, and just getting a little steam in, a little boating time. It's just so lovely. In fact, for those of you who know me, oh, look at what a perfect fit. I absolutely love the sort of style of cruising, river and canal cruising, which very much feels like what we did today, doesn't it? Anyway, cheers. Royal Jamaican ginger beer from Jamaica. There is going to be a massive inventory of this aboard all my boats. This is the best ginger beer I've ever had, and there is quite a good local ginger beer as well. Royal Jamaican. Holy mackerel, what a dark and stormy this is going to make, because it's already alcoholic. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, last week's, oh gosh, winner of a Travels with Geordie t-shirt, I can't even think straight, is David Kennedy 7146. David, get a hold of me. Congratulations, you've won yourself a Travels with Geordie t-shirt. Holy mackerel. I'd like to also thank two new Patreons that came aboard in the last week, and they are Omar Madruga and Raymond Jakowitz, and I really hope that's pronounced at least reasonably closely. At least you know who you are. Thank you both very much for coming aboard. I'm so very, very grateful. Cheers. I need to shut up about that. It's just so darn good. Okay, we'll move right along. This week's word of the week is going to be difficult to use, but very, very important to me because it's sunshine. Sunshine is the word of the week. It is because it's sunny today, which feels so good. But sunshine is also the previous name of MV Pome. So I thought at least that would give you a clue. I'm sure there's some sunshine where you are that you can tell me all about, or that sunny day when that great thing happened. Cheers, see you next week. Sunshine.